could really focus in on yours. How do I switch the camera around on here? We really look like we're professionals. There we go. There, we got a good close-up of Sue there.
Yes, you sure did.
Okay, well, we'll do it like that. Sorry about this. Let's just start this over again. What we were talking about, and you may have, if you heard the story before, well then you get twice as much today, and you're only paying the regular price. We were talking about Pepsi. You know, Pepsi had an ad campaign in the United States. It was Pepsi. It brings you back to life. When they tried launching this in China, except there was a language translation issue, and translated the words literally, and I don't know how they didn't catch this at first, was Pepsi, it brings your ancestors back from the dead. Well, that didn't go over too well. So, you know, the words that we say mean things. And that reminded me of another story and obviously I'm a storyteller. Years ago, when the Johnny Carson show was on, we were watching that. We had a bunch of friends over at the house, and my wife was feeling a cold coming on. Very proactive, very health oriented, and you know, we did the herbs and the vitamins and all that stuff. So she was going to make an echinacea tea and combat this thing right off. So she got out the echinacea that we had in tablet form, and she got out the pill crusher, and she thought, really, I'm going to really go after this cold. So she put 4 of them in there, crushed it up into a powder, put it into a cup of warm water, and she drank it down. And after she drank it down, she happened to look over at the bottle of echinacea, and her eyes literally got this big. Because she realized she just drank 4 tablets of Herblax. My joke was it didn't actually cure the cold, but it did make her think twice about coughing. So the reason I tell that story is because the words that we say mean things. Just like the word on a label, you know, here, you know, we have a lot of medical staff around here. The labels are important. The exact wording is important. And one of the things that I notice, and I've been in this rut myself, because the words that I say have meanings. And if I say them enough, I'll start to believe them. But what if they're not the right words? Now I'm not talking about some positive affirmation guru chant or anything like that, but we have to be cautious when we get in the healing processes of what we do say. Now there is a time that's appropriate for you to think nothing but negative stuff. I mean, you just lost someone that you cared about. You know, how would you put a positive thought on that? But there's a time for it, which is part of the healing process. Then, as part of that healing process, you'll start to move on and start to experience some good things. And you want to start adding some positive words. I know that's hard, even when you don't feel like it. To start adding some things, start to speak some positive things. And you will be amazed at how your mind will pick up on this. Now, many people don't know this about me. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist as well. And you can use words to make suggestions. It absolutely works that we can, over time, this is not a quick fix where you're going to say a positive chant or a positive word and all of a sudden feel better. But as you start to add some things in, it will alter the way that you think. You know, even, you know, Bible says as a man thinks in his heart, you know, so is he. It also said out of the abundance of his heart the mouth speaks. So it's just a little tip, just so you start adding some good positive stuff. And when you don't feel like it, I know it's going to be awkward, it's going to be difficult. It may be something as simple as I'm going to have a good day today. It may be something as simple as that, and you'll have to practice it, and it'll work a little bit, and it won't as this comes in waves. But you have to determine, and this is something Sue can speak to more than myself, because she's the one who, who calls and talks to you and has had a lot of personal interaction, and to help guide you through this process. Well, we got to know what's your end goal in the process. I mean, what is it that you want to achieve out of this? And
well, I think, in talking to people, initially, oftentimes people, they just want to talk. They want to kind of purge what they've just been through with the loss of a loved one. And I think it's really important for any of us that are trying to support someone that has just recently lost a loved one, just to be a listening ear. I don't think that we need to have a lot of advice and a lot of words of wisdom. I think what a person that is newly grieving, they just want somebody to listen. I think they need to be able to kind of tell their story and process through what has just occurred. And then I think that also we all have to understand that grieving is different for each one of us. That some people, they've kind of accepted it along the way, if they've had a sick loved one. And so when the death actually occurs, they feel kind of a relief. And that's okay. And some people are still really struggling and having a hard time, and that's okay. It's okay to have mixed emotions. Grieving is very volatile. It's like the stock market. One day you're doing really good, and then the next day you're coming apart at the seams, and you can't pull it together. So it's up and down and all over the place. It's normal to feel grateful sometimes when a loved one passes, because they've been very sick and there's, life has been kind of turned upside down, and now the loved one has passed, and there's sometimes, a feeling of, okay, I can breathe now, it's over. But at the same time, there's that mixed emotion that, oh man, I'll never see him again. If you believe that, death is final and that you'll never see your loved one again, then that's something that, you have to deal with too. But healing is a long process. And I think with Bob saying that having those positive affirmations and along the way and speaking positive things to yourself and encouraging yourself to, okay, today I'm going to have a good day. Today I'm going to set this goal or that goal. Trying to look for, I've always felt when things have happened in my life, I'm a person that always believes that there's a purpose for everything that happens. And, when I've had death in my family, or like, again, my children, I talked about them last week, I believe that those things, there's good to be learned from that. There's good to come out of it. There's always a lesson or something that can build your character. And I think that, the depth of one's character comes from what they go through in life, the difficulties in life. If we all have a really easy life and don't have to deal with the really sad, difficult times in life, then we don't really grow, and we don't become what the potential is to grow and become more and more. And I think that when you go through difficult times, you can be a source of help and strength to someone else when they go through difficult times. I think of grieving often like being on a ship that's out in a really tumultuous sea, and you're being thrown all over the place, and you feel sick, and it feels like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to get through this, and you're going through these big swells, and your life is just totally turned upside down. And then eventually the water starts to calm more and more, and then at some point you actually get to step off that ship onto shore. And the thing is, you've changed because you've had that experience, and it's all right there in your head. It's all a part of who you are now. And there's takeaways from it. There's opportunities to learn and to grow and to be a better person and to be able to help someone else that's going through the same difficult time. So
I stink at learning stuff. I don't, when I'm going through something bad, I don't want to learn anything. Yeah, I have, some electronic recording equipment and keyboards and that kind of stuff at the house. I am not the one who can read a manual like my friend Rick, who he can just read the manual and he understands how to program everything. Mm-hmm. And it's complicated. I've never been able to do that. I've got to get in there, mess with all the buttons, totally screw it up, make the corrections, and when I do that, then I know what I'm doing. I've learned something, because there are different types of learners. And one time I was going through something really bad and I started whining to God, which I do quite a bit. And I remember saying, Lord, if you're trying to teach me something, can't you just tell me? And I really felt him say to me, no, you're not that kind of learner. Mm-hmm. You got to get in there. Sometimes we got to get in there and go through the process, make the mistakes, feel the hurts, make the corrections, and then when we do, then it's sunk in, and then and I'll guarantee you those, who have been through different levels of their grief, things that no one else has to explain to you. You just know them. We get back to the words that we say. There was a young guy years ago who so hated himself that because of different trauma, clinical depression, all these things, he would look in the mirror literally and say, I hate you. You disgust me. Even wanted to die. Well, that's not a fun place for anybody to be, because eventually if you say that enough, you're going to start believing it. And he did. And one of the one of the things that happened is, after going through this process, the guy looked in the mirror one time because it was going to start another day, and he said, Wynkoop, obviously the guy was me, he said, today you are either going to have a good day or you're going to have a bad day today. What'll it be? And I said out loud, looking in the mirror, today I choose a good day. They've been good days ever since. That I promise you. Now, that doesn't mean that every day is absent from trouble and peril and grief and stuff like that, but my whole outlook changed, where I really do believe that they've been good days ever since. I finished a group the other night, a church group, and I want to leave you with this, because you'll often hear me say, well, probably just about every time, I'm gonna wish you peace, because it's an important thing. Peace, it does not mean to be in a place where there is no noise, no trouble, or hard work. It means to be in the midst of those things and still calm your heart. So here's my tip for you that we'll end with today. The quieter you become, the more you can hear. So again, today, I wish you peace. Thank you so much for watching. Now I'm going to do the awkward thing. If you've watched the couple of times where we tried to get this going, just delete those, because those are kind of embarrassing. So, hopefully, and we will see you again next week at the same time.
Thank you for your patience.
I don't know how to turn this off when you're finished.